decided to be the client advocate and do everything from that vantage point and not from the place of the big financial firm. And it wasn't until Harvard, like 8 years ago or something like that, came out with this white paper that said there's a thing called behavioral finance and it has to do with the humans and their emotions. And I laughed. I was like, duh. Like, I have 2 books now written about it. And, but that's good. The industry's evolving, right? People are understanding it. And note to self, the industry is up from 0.5% women. Now we're up to about 13% women. And I think that has something to do with it because women bring the relationship and the heart and the planning piece to it, like allowing you to be you, and how do we want to design it around you?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that. I thought that exact thing. I wondered that exact thing. Like, is it because now finally we're like more in the conversation and in the game, so to speak,
Right.
And I think too, just there's so much talking about that fear. There's fear of judgment in those situations,
Oh, for
like
sure.
you're like, oh my God, how do I tell this guy that I've done this stupid thing? And then in my divorce, I did this and I
Right.
mean, at least I wouldn't, I don't think I would be comfortable in that situation. And I'm sure they've seen it all, but it's just, God, why can we talk about so many other things and not this?
Well, and I think there are men out there, like my brother works with me, number 8 out of the 12 works with me. And
Oh,
he's very heart-based. He
yeah.
is a very easy male for people to just unpack,
Yeah.
right? So I'm also finding that there's more of those men entering the industry versus the A-type personality that's the go-getter and gonna, just don't can't ask me any questions, just do what I say kind of
Mm-hmm.
personalities. Those ones are retiring in
That's
the industry.
yes, right? That's the old model. Bye. Go take your
Right.
investments and we'll see you later.
Yeah.
That which is great. That is the way of the
Totally.
world. Like with COVID and with
Evolution.
everything, like that's what we're looking for. So how do we start stepping into more of our own financial independence using these tools that you have helped develop
Mhm.
or developed?
One of the first, yeah, in my second book, Awaken Your Wealth, I talk about that the first step in the process is you really need to actually picture the life that you want to create from this
Mm,
point forward. I don't care where you've been. We'll get to that in step 2. But if you don't dream the new dream and without judgment, because when I first ask people like, well, what do you want in your life? And they say, what do you mean financially? And I said, I don't care. I don't care if it's money. I don't care if it's with your family. They never talk about the money first, ever, ever. Because it's all about what they want for themselves personally or their family or their careers. And then financially, because we got to remember, money is just the result of you aligning with self. So if you are not aligning with self, you're going to create leaky containers. So let's just say you have a boss that you don't really like, but you don't want to jump to that dream job because maybe it's a pay cut and you haven't figured out how to do that or adjust to that. The universe is eventually going to smack you upside the head and you're going to lose that job anyway. And it's not going to be on your terms. And I always
mhm.
give this example. I had a friend of mine. She's a CPA. She worked for this firm since we got out of school, gave that firm her 20s or 30s. And in her early 40s, she was so excited. She was about to walk in and become partner. She walked in, the partners were all sitting there, and the managing partner said, unless you have a severe shift in your personality, you will never become partner in this firm. So we've decided to give you your walking papers.
Ouch.
She knew she didn't fit there, but she just kept muscling and kept trying to prove herself more. So it hit her not enough button, not worthy button, and not deserving button. And she now works as an inside CPA to one of her favorite clients that she dealt with back then. But she knew years before that she didn't fit in that firm because she wasn't cutthroat. She was relationship based.
Mm-hmm.
And they loved her handling the relationship based stuff because the other ones were all business and they didn't care. Right. And so she fit a hole for them. But when she was supposed to have her payday, never came.
Yeah.
So, like, on some level, we know, right? We know we've been putting up stuff that's not authentically. We just don't know how to bridge to the other place. And that's why the second step in my process is accepting the reality that you've already created.
I love that. One quick question about what you just said. Can you define what you mean when you say leaky container?
Oh, sure. So when you build your financial life based on the trauma or rejection before age 7, we create what I call leaky containers, meaning that you may have your work life in the center of your world. And if you're married, well, you're not nurturing that relationship. Well, not nurturing that relationship means that you think you're financially saving all this money, getting all these promotions, building your net worth, and then you get divorced and half of it goes out the door. That's a leaky container. A leaky container can be that, oh yeah, I've been totally getting my credit card payments together. I've been paying my student loans. But then you ignore your tax return filing for 3 years and you just create another debtor while you're getting these other debts in place. You're still vibrationally at the exact same place because you created IRS debt now. And you really actually are just BSing yourself because you really didn't financially get ahead at all.
Oof.
It's like it's like our subliminal message creates this suffering cycle that just keeps going and going. So you almost, what I do with clients is I create systems that position you to be lucky, because the reason we let it act out in like not filing your taxes for 3 years is because there are feelings that are trying to come up that created all of your debt in the first place. And you're distracting yourself from feeling those feelings and creating IRS debt,
Ooh. Ooh, that's good. And then you
right?
set people up to be lucky. I like that too. Like, that's really cool.
Right.
But that I can resonate with all that too. I have a million thoughts, about me and people I know that will remain unnamed right now. But yeah, I mean, like, and I think we've all done it in some way. Do you have experiences of your own that you I get okay, here's the question. I think the question is like we'll accept failure in so many other ways, and like I think relationships and money are just the two that you're like, oh, those failures you get embarrassed to even talk about. Those are the
Right.
ones where we don't want to
Right.
talk.
Totally.
Have you made anything like decisions that perhaps someone in the traditional financial, scene might deem not great or
Oh,
something like
oh
that? I mean,
yeah,
like,
I got a great one on that one.
great.
So I had this woman, she was getting divorced and I was referred to her, and their net worth was about 22 million.
Wow.
So higher than a lot of people's, right? And her attorneys were like, "Okay, you deserve 11 million. Like this isn't over until you get 11 million." Now, mind you, divorce attorneys are, chomping at the bit because they know what percent that they can squeeze out of that while they let you two fight about it.
Yeah.
And in this process, she was still living in the home that she had raised the family in. He had moved out and he was a business owner. And he was really a narcissist and he really violated boundaries. Like she found out that her house, because all the computer stuff was run with his company's technology team. So he tapped all of her computers. He knew everything she was communicating at all times. So he always knew her play by play with from her attorneys and everything. Well, then they also had 2 children. And in this process, like he just wanted to make her life hell, and he wanted her still in that house paying the bills, doing what he said. He wanted control of her, right? And when I met her, I had said, you don't have to stay in that house and pay all those bills and take care of the lawn and the maintenance and all that other stuff, because both your kids are away at college and you can just say, hey, I'm gone, I'm sorry, I moved. Because when she told me what she pictured, what it is that she wanted to create in her life, she said, I just want to move to Arizona by my mom. Like, the kids were a train wreck. They were both adopted and both very troubled childhoods. And she's like, and then now I'm getting annihilated by this guy and I'm trying to hold together what he created with these kids. And I'm like going, I can't do this anymore. And so after a while, her son actually, unfortunately, committed suicide.
Oh, no.
While he was on the phone with her, he shot himself.
Oh my God.
And
Wow.
she came to me and she said, tell me my number. I said, what do you mean? She goes, I want to live on $6,000 a month. Just tell me the number I need to do that the rest of my life, because I'm not doing this game with this guy anymore. And he can take care of the daughter. And all the attorneys went crazy because they're wanting to fight this 3-year thing out of $22 million. And I said, you need $4.2 million. And so she went back and she said, I want $5 million. And that ex-husband signed that paperwork so damn fast, and all the attorneys were mad as hell. And I'm just like going, but it wasn't about $11 million. It was about the fact that she needed to start gathering her life back together, post her son's death, post divorce, and live in a place that was a place of safety for her in the neighborhood near her mom. And it wasn't about the money, because she knew she'd inherit money from mom one day too, which now years and years later she has. And I've done that multiple times in divorce with women. That's actually probably the most common one, where I'm like going, do you want half? Like, I always tell people, if they're divorcing narcissists, I'm like, you legally get half. You have to detach from which actual asset it is, because the narcissist will always come in and say, if you're living in one of the houses, you think you're walking in to go sign the divorce papers, and the narcissist is going, I decided I want the house that you live in, but I'll give you this asset over here. And they do it all the time. I've seen it enough. And so I actually tell them, I'm going, so your answer is yes. We can buy you another lake house. We can buy you another condo. But if you want to stay in this game with this person, say no. But if you want the hell to end, say yes. And the attorneys think that's crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
They do. Yeah.
Because, but she deserves it. Well,
Yeah.
You know what? You're not dealing with a normal person with a normal box of rocks. You're not. You're not. You're dealing with a different prototype. And with that prototype, you got to play the game of the prototype. So there are these things financially that, and what it boils down to is you have to do what's authentically for you. That client is not the big, showy spender person that her husband, the business owner, was. She doesn't need 30 grand a month to live. She only needed 6. And she was okay taking less for it. And she said she almost threw up when she found out that the building that they were valuing at $8 million got sold a couple of years later for $14 million.
Yeah.
So it was even higher. I go, yeah, but you're happy. And because all that turmoil and all that stuff, whether you're putting up with a boss or coworkers or family members that are toxic, you walking away from those people is the healthiest thing you can do for your physical cells. Do you want to experience free coaching based on my 25 plus years as being a financial planner, and ask me any question that you want to ask me to help you get past that hurdle in your financial world? I run these free workshops every other month to start to open you up, to start to help you get to this next place. The information for my free workshop, click the link below and register, and I'll see you on the next workshop.